Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Eurovision 2023 interview. And today I'm excited to be joined by someone who has nowhere to be but here right now. It is Daniel Estrin from Voyager. Hello, and how are you
Good,
doing?
good. I'm good. Great reference. Great reference to a previous Eurovision entry. I love it. That's great. Good
Thank you, thank
start.
you. I'm really trying to I guess lean into my dad joke era, and I'm like, what's the best way to introduce an artist? Just use their own material back at them.
Absolutely. It'd be a concern if I was like, what?
Well, someone wanted me to start this interview with, have you ever done anything like this before? Have you opened all the door? Just see how it went? And I was like, I feel like that's a little obvious.
Ah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, I'm hoping for that to catch on. So it's funny every time someone says, "Oh, I've never done anything like this before," or "Oh, I've never tasted anything like this before." We're all like, "Hey, there it is again."
So what I'm hearing is that maybe if we're thinking of like a t-shirt merch for Liverpool, maybe that's a slogan we should run with.
Have you ever done anything like this before, or promise me it's going to be all right? Yeah, it's pretty catchy. I like it. I like it.
All right,
You
all
get you
right.
get you get 2%, Connor.
Yes, perfect. Well, I can maybe I don't know pay for my bus fare around Liverpool. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe 2% of the bus fare.
Yeah. Well, okay, Daniel, I really want to ask you a pressing question. So
Sure.
this afternoon here, obviously very early in the morning over in Australia, the
Not
running
too bad.
order,
It's 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. But yes, the running
yeah,
order.
the running order came out. And so you are closing your semifinal. What are your first reactions about that?
I mean, I prefer to call it headlining, because
Fair enough.
um, it's awesome. It's awesome. I think especially for like a heavier band with like an upbeat sort of energetic song, I think it's the perfect spot to be honest, because you're kind of closing it out and it's memorable. It's the last thing that people have heard on that night. So generally, they'll be excited about that. Hopefully, it's one of those spots which can go either way. Like if the performance is really bad, people will remember how bad it is. And if it's really good, they'll just be like, "Yeah, that's getting my vote." So I couldn't ask for anything better, to be honest. I mean, we're used to headlining, so it should be fine. But it is, I think the tricky part of that slot is like you've got to watch all the other artists, and you don't, you've
Hmm.
got that adrenaline, just pumping, 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 and then you finally get to do your thing. So that's the negative, but I think the positives greatly outweigh the negatives.
That's true. That's very true. I forget if I who I was talking to, but I think it was Tavorchi. I think we talked about their 19th slot in the grand final, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of great because we kind of get to just chill and get in the moment. But then it's like at the same time we have to wait so
Yeah,
long to go on
I know,
stage.
I
So
know.
I could see that being a similar case over there. And speaking, of course, of Eurovision as well, you have been working to get there for years. I mean, back since 2016, I think with the first hashtag. 2020 was a short list. 2022, you came second. And now here you are going to Eurovision. What does it feel like to officially have made it?
It feels right, honestly. I think the word is right. It feels like it's the right time, it's the right moment, it's the right song, and it's so nice to have our worlds kind of intersect because Eurovision's always been sort of this thing on the side, which we've always gone, oh, I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we've got 7 studio albums. We're a very hardworking band. We've done tours around the world. And people have always said, oh, you guys would be great on Eurovision. I'm like, yeah, I think we would. And then personally, I've been a huge Eurovision fan for decades. So that's kind of been like, it's been this thing that's been accompanying, and then all of a sudden it's just gone like this. And it's just awesome because it's what you want to do as an artist. Um, the opportunity to play on the biggest stage in the world is an opportunity which I think no artist would say no to. There's a lot of people who would be like, "Oh, Eurovision. Why are you doing Eurovision?" It's like, no, no, no. If someone said to you, "Do you want to do Eurovision?" What would you say? No, thanks. You'd have to be an idiot.
Yeah.
So, so it's such a nice time for things to really intersect, and for us to be able to do this, and for us to be able to finally, it feels like the hard work is paid off finally, and this is the moment where we get to present our song to hopefully 160, 170 million people worldwide. Because I think the issue with our kind of music, because it is kind of niche, it's like progressive metal or synth metal. People don't really know what it is and they don't really think about it and are not necessarily going to go out and listen to it. So the fact that we can be there and just go, you must listen. now you must listen. Whether you like it or not, that's fine, but you must listen and you can decide for yourself. And that's such a cool moment for us as musicians, as songwriters, and as a band. It's like, here, take it. And if you don't like it, that's cool. But if you like it, come along for the ride.
Yeah. Well, and I know that you have said, I think in many, many interviews that you felt like Promise was the right song. You said that Dreamer was a good song last year, but
Yeah.
maybe wasn't, I guess, as in tune with, I guess, Eurovision as you thought it was. But I was curious to ask if you can share what came first, the internal selection from SBS or the writing of Promise and then sending it on in?
Yeah. So, I mean, Dreamer was awesome, but Dreamer was a Voyager song that was 4.5 minutes that were condensed into 3 to make it a Eurovision song. Whereas Promise was something that we created kind of from the ground up with very much with Eurovision and staging and a story in mind. And it came first. It absolutely came first. The selection process was much later. Lucky, because we could have presented a song that was a total bomb. And it would have been like, yeah, I don't know. And to be honest, we were not sure after Australia decides whether we would put our hat in the ring again. And the song had to be right. And we couldn't really just go, oh, we want to recreate Dreamer, because you can't. We want to take elements of that, obviously, because obviously people felt something there, but you can't recreate an experience. People who were there for the journey, they felt that it should have won, for instance. That song has a very special place in their heart. You can't recreate that, and that's okay. But what we wanted to do was make sure that we get equally as excited about a track, because if you're not sure about a track, then you're not going to go in confident. You're going to go, oh yeah, it's not bad. But if you polish it and you go, yeah, we're really happy with this, and we are, because we think it's a really, really good song, and it covers so much of what we're good at and what we do, that when we started writing and we're like, yeah, there's something in this. And then we sort of started fine-tuning it and polishing it and going, yeah, this is the song we put forward. And we put it forward, and then the selection process happened and we got the tap on the shoulder, and then we kind of fine-tuned it a little bit more. And I think it's so important for artists to be behind their song. And that's why I think it's really important also for artists to write their own songs. I know not everyone writes their own songs. In fact, the majority of people don't. I think I would really struggle if it was not my song, because you've really got to get behind it. It's 5 friends, 5 musicians who are really crafting this thing. And to be able to present that as your own is something really special. Even at Australia Decides, people are like, oh, who wrote your song? And we're like, well, we did. And that's lovely. You can have input from externally from people, and that's awesome. But at the end of the day, it's your baby that you want to present to the world, and that's a beautiful moment.
Right. I think that we've talked, not us specifically, but me and maybe some other people from the website. We've talked that I think you can sometimes tell when a song is perhaps maybe just kind of written first and then the artist is picked second, and there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect between the voice or how they present the song. And I think you're right. I think especially when we're thinking of a Eurovision entry, I think fans can pick up on the fact that there's a sense of authenticity in the
Yeah,
song and in the staging and in the performance, because people connect more on stage with a song that they believe in rather than a song that was written for them,
100%.
that they just
You're
moved
exactly
on.
right. Exactly right. And don't get me wrong, some people perform other people's songs perfectly, and it's really great, and they get into that character. I don't know, I don't understand people who do covers and people who don't play original music. I couldn't do it. I find singing and performing, I find it such a personal and emotional thing that I don't think I could do other people's songs unless it was like, karaoke and I had to do Aha or Modern Talking or something like that. That's cool. But, to really portray, because you don't know the person who wrote the song, you don't know what they were feeling. I know what I was feeling when when I wrote this. I know where I wanted the melody to go. I know the discussions we had with the guitarists and the drummers to go, Do we pull back here? Do we push forward? And you remember that, and you feel that when you're playing it, because it's the story that you have created yourself. It's like, when you hear Rachmaninoff play his own concertos, I think there's like two recordings or something like that of those early. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is how you imagined it. And some people reimagine it, but the original is, I don't know. I think there's always something, as you say, authentic about it and really beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I want to completely switch gears. We've been talking a lot about Eurovision. I want to, I guess, move behind to a different thing. So, you all, as Voyager, have done concerts all over the world. Tons of concerts. Of course, you've got your 7 studio albums that you mentioned. But I'm curious to ask you, if you were able, if money and logistics were not a concern, and you got to pick one place you're doing a concert, where are you going to do a concert maybe that you haven't done before, and why?
That we haven't done before. Money and logistics aside, wow, that's the dream. To be honest, one of my favorite shows, just in terms of that connection with the audience, was Mexico City. And I think I would love to do more of Central America and South America, just because it's a place I haven't personally explored very much. And having gone to Mexico City, I remember flying in. It's like 22 million people in the city. I'm like, I'm gonna die in this place. Like, this is crazy. And then landing and feeling so connected and so at kind of at ease with the people, and then the crowd. I was like, yeah, this sort of vibe I really want to do. I really want to do more of, because people were so it was so genuine and so authentically happy to see you there. That's just so infectious. So I'd probably say Central and South America. Yeah, I want to do more of that.
Okay. Well, I happen to know that a fellow metal-ish band, Lord of the Lost from Germany, is
Yes.
embarking on a South American tour. So perhaps when you run into them in Liverpool, ask for some
Hmm.
feedback and some guidance, because they're coming. I think I was talking to Pi a couple days ago. They're basically flying straight in. They have like a day, and then they're going to Liverpool. So it's going to be fresh on their minds when they make it
After
in.
the tour.
Yeah, right after the tour.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Well,
Um, it's a vastly different experience, because I mean, we did last October, we did 21 shows in 25 days around Europe and the UK. And that was, it was hardcore. It was grueling. But I think Eurovision is such a vastly different way of performing, because you're not
mhm.
performing to a crowd. You're performing to a crowd plus 160 million people. So it's the little red dots in the cameras that you've got to perform to as well, which is tricky as a band, to be honest, because you're so used to feeding off the energy of the crowd that you're not used to television necessarily. So I'm going to have to make love to those cameras a little bit more than I usually would.
Fair point, fair point. And speaking of traveling and I suppose tours in Europe, of course, you have the pre parties that are coming up. You've got a couple of those. I know you're going to Spain, Netherlands, and is it the London Eurovision party as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So, and this is also going to be the first time we hear Promise live. Does that
Sure.
add any stress to your European tour?
Not really. It adds excitement, because we get to present it and we get to sort of play live to like a little mini Eurovision in a sort of club environment, which is really cool. I'm kind of bummed that I think we're going to be playing like one or two songs. I want to play more. Like, I want to do a whole set, which is what we usually do. We usually play for about an hour or so, which is what we'll be doing at our London show. So we've got our own London show, which is a full headline show. We'll bring out the bangers. So that's more of a Voyager show. This is more of a little taste of Voyager, I guess. But
Hmm.
it's exciting. It's all exciting. It's also exciting because we're going to be playing music, which the more you do this, the more, your schedule is packed with interviews and content and things like that. Sometimes you just want to play music because that's what it's all about. But the amount of music you play gets smaller and smaller, and the amount of other stuff you've got to do around it gets bigger and bigger. Such is fame, Connor.
That's true. It's an unfortunate trade-off, but I think the payoff is pretty high, I would say.
I
I don't
think
know.
so.
You're the Eurovision artist, so you know better than I do.
I'll tell you after Eurovision what the payoff is. We'll have another interview. We can dissect what happened.
Fair enough. Well, I have about one final question here before we wrap up. So, of course, we have the running order. We've already discussed that. And we also have all the other Eurovision artists who've been selected. If
Yep.
you got to pick a fellow Eurovision 23 artist to collaborate with on a new song, who would you pick to work with and why?
To collaborate with on a new song. Ooh, that's a good one. Not that's a good question, Connor. That's a very good question. There are so many. Um, you really put me on the spot here.
And
The easy answer
I'll,
is Andrew Lambrou from Cyprus because we met him at Australia Decides, and I actually think his
Mhm.
song's great, and he loves heavy metal, which is great, and I love the stuff that he does. So, but that's too easy. That's too easy. So I think probably probably Blanca from Spain. I think it would be a super interesting um, vocal addition to something that you could make really magical. I'm a big fan of that sort of style. I'm a big fan of sort of quirky, melodic, um, kind of how should I say the more I guess more of the traditional sort of scales from the various countries. So I think it'd be really exciting to do something with her. You could do some really great beats. You could have that sort of mysterious kind of half semitone type stuff that she does over the top of it. I think it'd be really interesting and really challenging to make our voices and our genres mix. So that'll probably be
Yeah.
my pick, just to make it something really, really creative.
Perfect. Well, and I also will throw out because I had my interview with the Busker a couple of days ago, and they have said to shamelessly promote that they are open to collaborations as well.
Awesome.
So, in the event that you are curious or interested, it sounds like they are ready to do something maybe a little. And I could see perhaps how your styles would blend a little bit with a little bit of that 80s
Mm.
inspiration in there.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
Shameless plug
absolutely.
for collaborations.
How much did they pay you for that, Connor?
They paid me in potentially a beer in Liverpool, so I am very
That's pretty
easy to
good.
bribe.
So that's what like 30 pounds or something.
I mean, I could find a very expensive beer in Liverpool, I'm sure. All right. Well, Danny, I know that you have a whole day in front of you, and of course, I have a night of sleep here in America.
Good.
So, I want to thank you so much for your time. Of course, for those who are watching here, make sure that you tune into the second semifinal and show Voyager some love. Check out their performance, and remember that their careers don't end after Eurovision. So, make sure that you check them out on Spotify and YouTube, all the social medias, and share them some love both before, during, and after the contest. And if you would like to show us some love, casual reminder, you hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the bell notification so that you know when we have more content coming up. But until then, I'm going to leave you all with a great old goodbye.
Bye.